Let's talk streamers for the final weekend. Up next on Fantasy Baseball Today in 5. Welcome into FBT in 5 on Friday, September 29th. I am Frank Samfeld, joined by Scott White, and the final weekend is here. Let's take a look at some hitters with the best matchups, and very clearly, Scott, we have the Twins in Coors Field, and Carlos Correa will not be back this weekend. So, by my estimation, we've got Willie Castro, Kyle Farmer, Ryan Jeffers if you need a catcher, and then we also have Edouard Julien, Matt Wallner, Alex Kirilloff, but there is a lefty on the schedule. So, what do you think about Twins players this weekend?
Well, but I think just one lefty, and that I would expect Edouard Julien to sit against that lefty, but maybe not Matt Wallner, who's the more likely to hit a home run. So if you're looking to make up ground in that, I think Wallner's a fine play. But I wouldn't mind starting Edouard Julien. I mean, he does a lot of things well, gets on base a lot at Coors Field, the way those games can spiral out of control with the runs. He could end up putting up a couple crooked lines in the games he starts. So I think Julian's a fine play too.
On the other side, we have the Rockies going up against Twins pitchers. Looks like 3 right-handed pitchers on the schedule for the Twins. So obviously, I do like Charlie Blackmon. There's Ezekiel Tovar, Brendan Rodgers. And then a little bit further down, Scott, Elihuris Montero, Brenton Doyle. Any interest in those names?
I mean, Blackmon's the most interesting. His numbers at home, it's like an OPS around 900. It's hard to sit him whenever he's playing there, but he's probably also the most rostered, I would venture to say. Tovar, I think if you need middle infield help, I'd prefer Julien, but Tovar at Coors Field is also a solid play.
All right, and then we have the Angels who are going up against the Oakland A's. 2 lefties on the schedule, 1 right-handed pitcher. So I do think Brandon Drury, Logan O'Hoppe, Randall Grichuk, Joe Adell, and Zach Neto are all names you can look at there as well. A few other teams that are a little bit lower down the list for me. The Braves are facing 3 righties from the Nationals pitching staff, so good matchups there. I think Eddie Rosario could get some play this weekend. The Yankees are facing the Royals, which includes Jordan Lyles and Zach Greinke on the schedule. If you need a catcher, Austin Wells has been hot recently. And then the Marlins are facing the Pirates, who have 3 right-handed pitchers on the schedule. Jake Berger, Josh Bell, Brian De La Cruz, and John Birdie. The guy is red hot. I don't know if he's going to keep it up, Scott, but he's hot.
I mean, I don't think he's very good. The thing he has historically done well is steal bases, but he hasn't done a lot of that this year. 3 home runs in his last 6 games is about as much power as you could expect to get from John Birdie in an entire season. I'm skeptical he'll keep it going, but, it's possible with matchups that good.
All right, what about pitchers to stream this weekend? We'll start with Friday, and these matchups are according to MLB.com. There's lots of TBDs as well. Obviously, things could still change here. But for Friday, I think the most interesting names, Cal Quantrill at the Tigers, Nick Pivetta at the Orioles, John Means up against the Red Sox, Nick Martinez at the White Sox, and then Chase Silseth facing the A's, Ken Waldichuk at the Angels. Who would you say your favorites are?
My favorites, if you need strikeouts, Pivetta, I think, is at the top of the list, even though at Baltimore, that's kind of a rough matchup. He might be facing a B lineup. But he's the best bet for strikeouts. If you're not as concerned about strikeouts, you just want a quality start, I think Cal Quantrill at Detroit is your best bet. And John Means against the Red Sox might work out okay. He's actually at home, which, with the deep left field fence in Camden Yards, that seems like it was set up just for John Means. And he hasn't gotten much of a chance to take advantage of it yet. Hopefully against the Red Sox, he will.
On Saturday, the most intriguing names looks like Jose Quintana against the Phillies, Mike Clevenger against the Padres, Clark Schmidt at the Royals, Connor Phillips at the Cardinals, and Joe Boyle at the Angels.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously depends how much you want to gamble, because there's a lot of upside for this group, a lot of downside too, a lot of risk. I mean, we saw what Tristan McKenzie did in his first start. Are you really going to use him even at Detroit? I doubt it. I'd be most likely to use Jose Quintana against the Phillies and Mike Clevenger against the Padres. I wish the matchups were better, but they seem like the most likely to deliver 6 solid innings. My third choice would probably be Clark Schmidt at the Royals. I don't think he's going to give you a quality start. And ERA and WHIP might not be so good either. I think more for points leagues is what I'm thinking, Clark Schmidt, because if he gives you 5 innings, 3 earned runs, he might come away with a win. It might turn out okay.
On Sunday, we have the crown jewel of the weekend, Michael King at the Royals, assuming he remains as the probable pitcher. I think he will. So obviously that's the best one of the weekend. We've got Bailey Ober at the Rockies, but in Coors Field, that's a little scary. JP Sears at the Angels. What do you think?
Well, maybe my impression of Coors Field is totally skewed because of the way those 3 Dodgers pitchers performed there earlier this weekend. But I'm actually feeling pretty good about Bailey Ober, who's looked great since returning from the minors. A lot more changeups. Flyball pitcher at Coors Field, inherently dangerous, but the Rockies line is bad. And specifically for Ober, mostly fastball changeup. He doesn't rely a lot on breaking balls, and those are the pitches that get ruined the most by the thin air of Coors Field. So yeah, Michael King, a distant number 1 for the entire week, and Bailey Ober might be my number 2 choice for the entire weekend though. And then if you want a third choice specifically for Sunday, I will say Adrian Hauser.
All right. There you are. Final weekend of the season. Good luck to everybody. Hope you win your fantasy baseball championship, and thank you for sticking with us all season. For more extensive fantasy baseball coverage, listen to the Fantasy Baseball Today podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, the Audacy app, or anywhere else podcasts are found. Thanks for listening to Fantasy Baseball Today in 5, and we will be back again tomorrow. Bye-bye.